What's up, guys? Welcome into Packers Total Access. My name is Clayton. You can check us out on Packernet.com. Find me on Twitter at Packers_access. Joined alongside Jacob in Wisconsin, here to talk some Green Bay Packers on this glorious Saturday, April the 12th, as we've got a Notre Dame spring game at about 2 p.m. Eastern. Excited about that. And plenty of Packers talk here this morning. Jacob, how you doing, big dog?
I am doing pretty good, man. Woke up real early and decided I wanted to watch a bunch of film on wide receivers, and I got some favorites for sure. Found a couple guys that I wasn't too sure about, and now I really like them. And so, yeah, maybe we can get into that.
Nice.
How are you today, Clayton?
I'm doing great, man. Doing great. We got a lot of defensive talk lined up, edge defenders, defensive tackles, stuff like that. So before we get into all that, why don't we just talk a little wide receiver, man? I know we hit on it the last couple of days. I think that'd be fun to kind of hear your take on your favorite guys, and we'll pull up the board and see where we got them on our board and compare and contrast here, man.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of started with some of our guys that we've talked about and just kind of went right on down the line. I only watched maybe like 3, 4, 5 minutes each, but there was just maybe 3 or 4 people that stood out. One of them's not going to be surprising. It was Jaden Higgins. Just watching how effortlessly he seemed. I just put some notes on what's strong, fluid, good release, decent yak, but it just seems so like, I hate saying effortless because then it seems like he's being lazy, but it's just he seems to hit full stride fairly quickly, easily. I was surprised at the route tree. He seemed like he was very well rounded. And that's not just to fluff up Tim. He really does intrigue me as an offensive prospect. It just he does seem like a difference maker. Another one that I really liked a lot.
Let's hit Jaden Higgins for a second since you hit on him. Let's just kind of tell everybody where he's at on the board. He does obviously meet the athletic threshold. He crushes it. He's in the 48 spot on our board. In 2022 is the 86th highest graded receiver at his position, right? 23 jumps all the way to 28th, and then in 24 he jumps all the way to 4th. PFF Big Board had him at 54 at the end of the season. Consensus Big Board had him at 81. I think both of those numbers are low, obviously. The 33rd team, Kyle Krabs, had him in the 79 spot on his initial board. I think he's since risen, but we're leaving it there. You guys know how we do that. Dane Brugler had him in the 48 spot on his original list unveiling. RAS was a 9+, and Greg Cosell gave him the 5-point bonus. So he checks – I'm talking about most of the boxes here, man. And what's crazy is I didn't give him a Senior Bowl bonus. We probably should. I need to revisit that because I remember, didn't he catch? No, it was Jack Bech. I've got them mixed up. He caught a touchdown pass in the Senior Bowl. Jaden Higgins did, but it was Jack Bech that went off, right? So, yeah, Jaden Higgins, man, intriguing. Let me ask you this before we move on to the next guy. Do you see a scenario, and there's no wrong answer, I'm genuinely asking, do you see a scenario where you could think Jaden Higgins is worthy of the 23rd pick, or would it have to be something to trade back a little bit or take him at 54? What do you think there?
Man, it's funny you actually just asked that because that was about to be my question for you. Was that do you see him? And it wasn't necessarily 23. It's do you see him as a first-round prospect anywhere? And I honestly do. I really do because I think it's team specific. But when you compare him to what are we talking now? We're talking Tet, Luther Burden, Emeka. Depending on the team, Jaden Higgins is just a different type of player compared to those, I would argue, to the Burdens, to the Emekas, as far as like, I hate labeling him as being, he's an X or he's a possession, but he's just, like you said, 6'4". I mean, he's all of 6'4" and then some, and decent body size, and he's just so fast. Like that, to me, is such a different player than what you would ask a Luther Burden to be. I think Tet is probably more along those lines, but even when I watched Tet's film, I'll be honest, I thought he looked a little clunky sometimes, a little bit robotic and not as fluid as some of the other guys that I was really impressed with. And the yak wasn't as, he's got availability and possibility to being a decent guy with you after the catch, but I was much more intrigued by Jaden Higgins and my next guy is actually a person that you brought up briefly, but it was Jack Bech. That dude just looks like he fits the part, man. He looks like he could be a Packers receiver. He really does.
You were asking about Jaden Higgins here in terms of, do I see him as a first-round pick? I see him in the 40s there on our board. It doesn't mean he won't go in the first round, but when you look at the latest mock drafts here, Draft Tech Their staff on April 10th, which would have been 2 days ago, had him going number 22 to the Patriots. NBC Sports, Connor Rogers on April 9th had him going number 23 to the Packers. Football Nick Barrett on April 7th had him going number 28 to the Lions. And then CBS Chris Trapasso in 2 different mock drafts on March 25th and 26th, both had him, both of those scenarios, he had him going to the Packers at 23. Pro Football Focus back in February had him going to the Packers at 23. So there's plenty of buzz that Jaden Higgins could hop into the first round. There's no doubt. And if the Packers were to take him at 23, it's for the reason you said, that they say, I want a big body receiver as opposed to a better receiver, because there's definitely guys that are ranked higher than him on the board. As you can see, if we go back to the big board here, this is mock draft database. Tet McMillan, number 10, Matthew Golden, 20, Emeka Egbuka, 33, Luther Burden, 34, and then Jaden Higgins at 49. So just wanted to hit that before you moved on to the next guy there. It's interesting, man. There's some buzz around him, about him going in the first round potentially now.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, that doesn't surprise me at all. I would not be shocked whatsoever. I would be a little shocked if he goes before us, but anything after 23, I would not be shocked in any way. But like I was saying, the next guy that I really it kind of popped off the tape to me was Jack Bech, TCU. I believe he's about 6'2"-ish, decent body size. I was just really amazed at how twitchy, and I put twitchy, great release, great deep ball skills, good yak, good ball skills while the ball is in the air was one of the things I noticed about him. He's really good at locating it. But he's, I don't want to say he's skinny or whatever, but he's just lean, but he's really he looks strong for how quote unquote lean he may look. And he just kind of has that weird attitude about him where he just seems like he could be a Packer, man. I watched his route tree, very developed as well, crisp, clean routes. And I was surprised at how much of a deep threat he was. Like, he just seems effortless for him as well, where he looks over the shoulder. He seems like he can place the ball. He knows where it's going to land and how to distance himself from the cornerbacks. And then once he gets that ball in his hand, dude, he's like a little lightning bug kind of. Very impressed with him. I don't know where we got him on our board, Clay, but I would be pretty pumped if we got him even in the second. I mean, I think he's worth that.
Yeah, so according to our board, and again, it doesn't mean it's correct, Jack Bech, the second round at 54 would be a little rich. We've got him in the 77 spot, so not crazy out of reach. The reason he ended up there, he was the 35th highest graded receiver in 24. He was 56 on the PFF big board. The consensus big board at the end of the college football season had him at 136, which is crazy. Senior Bowl, we gave him the 8-point bonus because not only did he stand out, he ended up being the MVP, caught the game-winning catch, everything across the board. He checked the boxes there. Kyle Krabs had him at 82. Dane Brugler had him at 74 initially. His RAS, last we checked, was 9+, and Greg Cosell loved him as well. So, I mean, he's one of those dudes that if you're going to reach on a receiver in the second round, I would be totally fine with Jack Bech. If, let's say, Jaden Higgins is gone, let's say Trey Harris is gone, I will be totally on board with that for sure.
That's kind of what I was going to say is right now, I would want Jaden first, Trey second, and honestly, I would say Jack Bech third. He is that good to me, and this is assuming that Emeka's not there and Bird, all that kind of stuff. Right. I did see, was it Coach? Yeah, Coach was saying that he likes Ayomanor, if that's how you say it, rising up the draft boards. I saw a lot of the same stuff I liked about Bech as well with Elic. I don't know if that dude's name is just, I heard it 1,000 different ways, but
I know it.
The Stanford, you're kind of, you look at the school size and the level of competition, and that makes you a little bit more suspect. But I mean, I've seen some crazy catches from him. He has like those one-arm stabs that he's really good at, just going up and grabbing that ball. I saw the same thing with Jack Bech too, where I was like, dang, that's pretty polished guy. I wouldn't mind that pick either. It's just that in that grouping of the Elic, Jalen, and Jack Bech, I really like Bech. I just have really he's grown on me quite a bit.
With Ayomanor, I've heard it called Ayomanor.
Yeah.
I've heard it called Ayomanor. I've heard it called Ayomanor. I've also heard his first name called Elic, and Elic. I'm
Yeah,
like, can somebody please let's get to the bottom of this? But yeah, he's in the number 80 spot on our big board. He had an injury in 22, but stayed relatively healthy after that. In 23, he was 140th at his position. He dropped a little bit in 24 at 160. The PFF big board had him at 31. Consensus big board had him at 48. Kyle Krabs in the 33rd team had him at 43. Dane Brugler had him at 90. He did get a 9+ RAS. I do know, just following Notre Dame and hearing about the transfer portal and this and that, a couple of the podcasts that I listen to, shout out to Irish Breakdown. If you guys are Notre Dame fans, they do a phenomenal job over there here on YouTube and in podcast form. But one of the things that they talked about was like, man, it was such a shame that Ayomanor did not have an opportunity to go into the portal. Like, he didn't enter into the portal from Stanford, because boy, oh boy, if he'd went to a big time program, he said that dude would have just blew it off the charts. So, on our board, I'm a little lower on him in the 80 spot, obviously. But according to the consensus big board here, the mock draft database big board, they have him in the 63 spot above Jalen Noel and Jack Bech and Isaiah Bond and Jalen Royals. I mean, he's starting to creep up on Trey Harris now. So I think he is a guy that, and nothing other than just the memory of Puka Nacua and how he was underrated, but there were signs like people were going, man, this dude's good, and he just pops. He kind of feels like that could be the dude in this year's draft. And I may end up saying that a half a dozen times by the time the draft gets here with different people, but Ayomanor is one of those dudes for sure. So,
no, I think that's totally fair. And real quick, just because I didn't want to gloss over it, but Trey Harris, I really like him. He still would be my second. When I watched him, I just saw more of I hate saying a slow and lumbering type, but when you compare it to when you're watching Jaden and Jack Bech and those types, he was just more of kind of a possession type receiver. Very good at what he does, but not as quick and twitchy, just more of like, I'd say possessive and kind of a more solid, kind of body type. But you let me know if you've ever heard, I know I sent you the YouTube breakdown, but I have now absolutely fallen in love with Tory Horton. When I watched this dude's film, I was amazed at how twitchy, but just all around. I mean, the guy runs every route. I feel like he can do it crisply. He's really great at like intermediate routes, but also like gadgety stuff. They used him a lot with like sweeps and end around jet motion type stuff. They did a lot of wide receiver screens to him, a lot of out of the backfield stuff. When I watched him, I just thought I was watching Jaden Reed in Matt LaFleur's offense, just doing a lot of really gizmo-y, gadgety type stuff. But the thing is, too, is like this guy, he was flying down the field, too. And I think he's a solid 6'2", not the biggest body type guy, but he was, I mean, dude, in and out of his routes. And I mean, the competition is, Colorado State or whatever, but you go and watch his film. Oh, and by the way, the dude must have been an old quarterback, because they got one highlight reel where they pitch it out to him, and he absolutely steps into what had to be a 50-yard ball in the air, puts it right on the dime for a touchdown. Not that we're going to have Tory out there throwing passes, but it's nice to know we got it in the repertoire. Yeah. But I swear, I think that Tory Horton may be my favorite player in this draft. That's a bold statement to say, but I really do think that if we could snag him in the third, that's my draft crush. He's my Jaden Higgins for as far as Tim goes.
I'll say this, man. What we are uncovering is there's several receivers between the first and the fourth round. It's like, be okay with any of these guys, So, Tory Horton is currently in the 105 spot on the consensus big board. We have him in the 108 spot. Crushed it according to PFF, 76, 18th, and 38th at his respective position there. PFF big board 117. The consensus big board had him at 100, so he's kind of hovering right where he's always been. The 33rd team, Kyle Krabs, had him at 123 initially, and his RAS is a 9+. And I'll say this, talking about him being 6'2", I think he's the same size as Trey Harris in terms of height. So I want to say Trey Harris was 6'2" as well. So similar size there for sure. And if you miss on those guys that we already talked about, that might be the dude to fall back on for sure. Watch him go up there in the first round or something, just completely skyrocket. Nobody know about it. That would be absolutely awesome. King Tron with the super chat. Thank you, buddy. He says 12 days away from the big show. Can't wait. Go Pack, go. Hey, thank you for the super chat, Tron. Same here, man. It's going to be a blast. Jacob's going to be on the live stream with us, doing the draft show. I cannot wait. You guys make sure you're subbed to the channel and get ready. We're gonna be going live night 1 on Thursday night for the entirety of the first round. Night 2 for the second and third round, and then day 3 we'll probably end up spending more time at the draft. However, as soon as it's over, we're going to get back to the crib and do a live kind of recap. We may catch the backside of it. I did find out today, though, or yesterday, Jacob, they're going to have a locust farmers market over at the draft on the last day. So I think your boy going to be shipping some cheese back to Tennessee, man. I'm telling you. You guys know how to do it up there for sure. So, Tron, thank you for the super chat, bub.
Yeah.
What else you got, Jake?
There's a couple things that Wisconsin does well. It's drinking and cheese. That's pretty much it. Oh, we hunt a lot too. And fish.
I think since you brung that up, we need to make sure that everybody knows this is on the market now. If you guys are interested in purchasing a cool new action figure here, all right. So we got the Redneck Packer fan action figure available now, right? Mandy looked at the face and said, "Clayton, that's not you." I said, "Hey, that's right." But she said that is exactly what you wear 24/7. Though it's usually a white hoodie, black shorts, and the Air Force Ones. But you see the accessories. It actually comes with a shotgun, a bottle of Tennessee whiskey, a football, and of course the raccoon there, right? So make sure you check your local department stores for this action figure.
That is really good.
The face does not look like me at all, but man, the accessories they crush, and I really wish I had those calves, but unfortunately, I got the lady legs. Sorry, that's just the way it is. So
yeah,
all right.
Hashtag
lady legs.
Hashtag. Another one was Kyle Williams, which I know we saw on that list there. Another guy that kind of seems to be getting a lot of kind of steam, you know what I mean? A lot of people have been seeing him kind of rising up boards. Washington State, obviously not the biggest of schools, but again, a guy that just seems like he knows what he's doing, that he's not intimidated by big situations, big games. Really, really like the way that he runs routes. I don't know if he's quite as polished or twitchy as the other guys, but I just really do like what he puts on tape. Also, King Tron, by the way, I do have a comment of yours highlighted that we'll get to, just so you don't think we're ignoring you. We'll get to that a little bit later.
Yeah,
King Tron, super chat right now.
Somebody else will get it for sure, man. They'll get they'll have the name, image, and likeness of the. Did you notice the title on it? Redneck Packer fan. That's all it is. Just it's the entire kit. So so you said Kyle Williams, right? You guys see the chat always gets us off topic here. Kyle Williams, I'm way lower on. And when I say I'm talking about the board. And again, Tron, thank you for that super chat, pal. So Kyle Williams on our board is in the 193 spot. Now you see him here on the latest mock draft database consensus big board. He's 95th. So you go, okay, why is there a big discrepancy there? The big thing is the PFF grades, all right? In 22, he was 253rd at his position. In 23, he dropped all the way back to 389th. And then in 24, he jumps up to 64th, so he rebounded real nice. But at the end of the college football season, this same website had him ranked 147th. So you can see how he's climbed up the boards now all of a sudden, right? And again, that could be that they're hearing from teams, hey, we really like this guy, but we also know it's lying season. We also know that this consensus big board is put together by media members. Listen, everybody's human. Everybody creates their friendships, and they got their relationships with certain schools and this and that. You prop our guys up, we'll give you better access. That stuff really happens, right? So when I see someone jump significantly like that, it could be real deal. It could. But I'm not going to have it reflect on my board. These are how people seen these players as soon as the college football season wrapped up, and then we add in the bonuses, which he stood out at the Senior Bowl. There's no doubt about that. So the fact that Kyle Williams really popped at the Senior Bowl is a huge bonus in his regard. And then the RAS scored less than a 7. I think that's going to hurt him a little bit. I really do, in terms of draft stock. So I'm going to be happy. I don't want him to fail. I don't want to see him go low just to see him go low, but if he's closer to 193 than he is 100, I'm going to feel really vindicated on our board. But if he goes higher than that, I'm not going to be surprised at all. So that's Kyle Williams.
Okay. And then I'll end it with these two. I ended up looking at Arkansas because I wanted to see Isaac Tesla, and I really like him a lot. Big body. I mean, he's a big guy. I think he's 6'3", 6'4", solid. I think he's 200 pounds plus, and he runs really, really well. Was actually really impressed with his deep ball skills, the way that he located the ball. He honestly did remind me a lot watching like of a Jordy Nelson type, and not just because he's a white. All right, it's because he just had that kind of like long, kind of seemingly just deceptive speed and really, really crisp on his routes, and a lot of deep balls where it just, again, he seems like effortless. He'll just pluck them out. It seems like he was really good at running intermediate routes as well. But as I'm sitting there watching this Isaac Tesla, I think somebody in the chat brought it up, which really makes me sad because I thought I was going to totally bring out a hidden gem here. I think it was Prince. Here you go, right here, Prince. He says, my new favorite mid-round guy, in case you miss out on wide receiver earlier, is Isaac Tesla's our Kansas teammate, Andrew Armstrong. Not a big burner, solid guy like James Jones to throw in the mix. Andrew Armstrong is somebody, when I'm watching the tape, I was like, dang, who is that guy? I ended up looking him up. He has really good size, really good speed, decent numbers. So I popped on some film of him. Really surprised at how much they use him in short comeback routes, a lot of intermediate routes, like a lot of dinking and dunking type stuff, where I saw what Prince said there about how he's kind of like a James Jones. I mean, I could really see that, where it was just, he was a very technical receiver, but he does have a lot of the attributes that he could possibly surprise a lot of people and become an all-around really stud wide receiver. And then I started watching more and more tape, and he does have some deep ball skills. He's got some intermediate skills. He's got good comeback routes. He seems like he's got the route tree. And I have not heard really anybody talk about this guy other than a few and far between. Do you have him even on your board, Clayton, or no?
Yeah, we've got Isaac Tesla. Is it Tesla or Tesla? Have you heard it say Tesla?
I think it's right? Tesla, but we'll just say Tesla to piss people off.
All right. I was going to say it might have been Tesla, and old Elon pissed him off and he changed his name. That could have happened too. That's welcome to 2025. So he's in the 179 spot on the consensus big board, right? On our board, we've got him at 378. Oof. Now, let me explain why. In 2023, according to PFF, there were 705 receivers that were better than him. Now you go, okay, how do you do in 24? In 2024, in all college football, there were 304 receivers better than him. So I'm not like, I can't, when you see a number that low, it's like, boy. Now, I'm not saying he can't do good things, don't get me wrong, but the PFF big board at the end of the year had him at 231. And you see right here on the consensus big board, right? They got him in the 195 spot. Take a guess where they had him at the end of the college football season. Just guess.
300.
Higher. I mean, lower. Like, yeah. 4. You said 4?
Yeah.
728.
Jesus.
Yeah. So that's what's pulling him way down. If we were to remove that altogether, he's going to jump significantly on our board. So this is another one of those players where I'm going to highlight the box. So we have questions like, hey, should we change this? Okay. And I want to get everybody's take. I honestly want to stick to the board, but at the same time, when you see something like that, it really does kind of pique your interest. Like, okay, what is going on here? Why is this guy? Why did he all of a sudden jump that high, and how could they have been that off on him?
Because here's what I think, and this is a Draft Buzz, whatever you want to call him. He did end up making Bruce Feldman's 2023 freak list at number 83. So he's 6'4", 216. He ran a legit 4.43. He has a shuttle in the 88th percentile. He has hands in the 77th percentile. He has a weight in the 80th percentile. He has a 10-yard split in the 85th percentile. His broad jump is the 92nd percentile, and his vert is the 91st percentile. He has all the attributes that you would ever want. Oh, and he has a 4.0 perfect grade all through college. And he has the Kentucky waterfall that's quite curly and luxurious. I'm just saying.
Now we got to boost him.
Now we got to throw that -5.
No, but so it sounds like, and listen, Jay, I'm not trying to be an ass here, but it sounds like the underwear Olympics helped him out a lot. Am I wrong in that assessment?
I think that's right. And I think that a lot of people have looked at just what he could be. One of the things that says here is he has a drastically higher ceiling than what his draft position is telling people. I think that's one of those guys. He's a traits guy. He has the attributes. He has the possibility of becoming something that only a few people have the even possibility of getting to, I think is what they're trying to, word it that way. So that's where I just see him as if you can get him in the 6th or 7th or, take some sort of late round flyer on him, I would be totally cool with it. Did you by chance have Andrew Armstrong on your list as well?
Let's see. Oh, let me just mention this with Tesla one more time. The 33rd team had him at 115, so Kyle Krabs likes him. However, Dane Brugler did not have him in his top 100. So it's like he may be hovering around the 100 spot for both him and DJ, and we just haven't seen it yet. DJ's only put out a top 50, which pisses me off. Like, come on, guys, stop being cowards. Get your full list out there. You know what I mean? Like, let's draft's almost here. So who'd you say, Jacob?
It was the other guy from Arkansas. It was Andrew Armstrong.
Andrew Armstrong.
That was my kind of sleeper that I have not heard anybody other than Prince bringing him up.
We're significantly higher on him than Tesla for sure. We've got him in the 146 spot. He meets the athletic threshold for the Packers. 2022, he was 33rd according to PFF. In 2023, he drops to 129, but in 2040, he jumps all the way to 9th. So PFF checks out big time. Consensus Big Board had him at 190. The mock draft database had him at 236, and he did score an 8+ RAS last we checked. So we've got him in the 146 spot. Pretty solid. Now, if we look at the Consensus Big Board here, again, Andrew Armstrong, right? So they've got him in the 281 spot, which if you'll notice, this is one of those situations where they had him in the 236 spot at the end of the college football season. So he has since dropped to 281. So he was probably passed up by a couple underwear Olympic guys.
Yeah, I mean, and like you said, his grades are phenomenal. Last year, he had almost 80 catches. He had 1,200 yards receiving. I think one of the big things is he only had one touchdown, whereas in years prior, he had 5 and then 13. He averaged almost 15 yards per catch. He has a contested catch rate of 62.1, a drop rate of only 4.9, 83.3 grade against man coverage, a receiving grade of 89.4, 2.81 yards per route run. I mean, I've not heard anybody else talk about him whatsoever. And it's just kind of intriguing because he just seems like he's got all the attributes there. He runs a 4.5 240. So I don't know if that's maybe holding him down a little bit, but
not horrible though, right?
Yeah.
Not horrible at all. King Chom super chat. Thank you, buddy. He says, Clay, any more thought into a call-in segment capped at like 30 seconds, a call with the regulars you trust, maybe once a week for 10 minutes with the pinky wheel of names of people that want to chat? Man, this is something that's bothered me a lot, Tron. I've wanted to do this ever since we started the show. We actually used to have a little bit of one, and started getting nervous because I was watching a YouTube show where someone had called in on their show and completely ruined their channel. And what I mean was all it takes is 5 seconds of someone saying something on a live show and you're canceled. And I reached out to YouTube and chatted with one of their representatives over the chat service. And they said, it's 100% on you. If you have a call-in segment on your show and something is said inappropriate on a live stream and it gets flagged by YouTube, you can lose your channel. So it sucks. It absolutely sucks that we can't go that route. I even thought about because we've got several people, and I want to give a shout out to H.E. Solder. Solder actually became a $10 member on Patreon. As you guys know, on our Patreon group, $3 gets you access to everything. If you want to be generous and do the $5 or the $10 tier, awesome, cool. But he paid up a full year in advance for the $10. So Solder, thank you so much for that generous donation there. And obviously he's got access to the site. I thought about something like that, like people who are on the $5 or the $10 tier, maybe give them access to the link and be able to call into the show. The only other way to do it would be to have a voicemail service where people could call and leave a voicemail, and we do it that way. That's not really a call-in show. And also Packernet After Dark, which we're a part of the Packernet podcast family, they've already got that going on. So what I would suggest, Tron, is call into Packernet After Dark and leave voicemail that way. It's just I want to do it for people like you. I do, and other people that I think we can trust, but I'm telling you, man, there's been a couple people on X this year too that completely crossed me that I was like, I'd never seen that coming. Where it's just I could see people like that in the heat of the moment doing something just to get their name out there and to be an ass. And we just passed 155,000 views in the last 28 days. So the channel is humming. And if we go that route and something happens, man,
is there any possibility? I don't know quite how Patreon works. Is there the ability to leave a voice message or to upload a question that way, and then we could pull it from the Patreon? And then
we've already got that in the Patreon group, questions for the show, so you can.
Also, I mean, I'm just saying, like, is there a way that they could actually get their voice, literally hear their voice as a question, and just play it and then announce it on the show?
I could do that even outside of Patreon. Again, though, that takes away from Packernet After Dark.
Yeah.
So I definitely want all those calls going to Packernet After Dark because I really like that show, and we need more football calls on there. That's not Ryan's opinion. That's my opinion, and that's his baby. Don't get me wrong. I'm not sitting there pretending like I run it, but sometimes I listen. I'm like, man, I want to hear people's football takes. I want to hear their questions. I want to hear football conversation. I don't want to hear about what color underwear you wore this week. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm different like that. But that's what I would say is reach out to Packernet After Dark. He's got a call-in number and leave a voicemail. But yeah, Jacob, I've thought about it about 5 different ways here, and it's just King Sean with Super Chat. I like that $10 tier idea. I love Ryan, but I truly hang with you boys way more. I love y'all's insight. I would say put it behind a paywall, maybe $15. And again, I appreciate the idea there, Tron, and thank you for the generous super chats here, man. I just never wanted to turn into a money grab, right? But at the same time, we gotta make sure we're not getting canceled. That's the big thing. And it's already happened once with YouTube. And when it happens with YouTube, they don't go, here's what went wrong, let's fix it. They just lay in the background and go, you need to read the policy and figure it out. That's what they do to you. So that's why we've got Rumble and X as a backup. So, yeah. Anyway, but thank you, Tron. We'll definitely consider it, man. We'll definitely consider it. And I think it would be cool to have like an hour-long call-in. I think it'd be awesome.
Joseph says, don't do it live. Have you seen this chat at times?
That's what I'm saying. It's off the rails sometimes. And listen, I love it. I look at the chat, and we're giggling the whole time. But can't have that. I can't control what y'all do in the chat. I can control what goes up live and whether the channel stays active. So anyway, any other receivers you want to hit on, Jacob? Thank you, Tron. Please don't think I'm minimizing what you're requesting here, man. I would love to do it. I just got to get some more thought into it. And I've got people coaching me on building the channel too. So run it by them. And every time I mention first time I mentioned it to them, they went, Clayton, no. Please don't do this. Don't go this route. All right. Okay. So anyway, any other receivers, Jake?
No, just I did look at Elijah Badger again, and once again, I don't understand how he is consistently at the back of the draft. The guy just absolutely looks like he's the real deal. I really do think that. So, and Coach Len actually I brought this up to the guys a few weeks ago about Brew McCoy. Same type of, he has the measurables. He's got the speed. Just had a little bit, I think, of some injury trouble, and I think he transferred maybe once or twice, so he didn't quite get the stats that maybe would have highlighted him, but that's another one, Coach. Where do you have him, he's wondering, on your board?
I don't have an RAS score. I've got RAS loading right now, so we're going to try to get that filled in. Right now, we've got Brew McCoy in the 428 spot, and the 2024 box was checked because of the injury, right? PFF was not kind to him. 429 in 22, no score in 23. 2024, he was 424th. PFF Big Board had him at 223. The consensus Big Board had him at 312 at the time. Where's he at on the consensus Big Board? Have we seen him yet, Brew McCoy?
Man, it's crazy. He was a 5-star recruit coming out of California. Initially signed with USC, transferred to Texas, returned to USC, and then went back to Tennessee. So he's been basically having a kind of he never really got a chance to plant his foot in a program and really get established, I think. Yeah.
He's currently 259th. And look, Packers Wire actually mocked him to the Packers in the 7th round back in March. So looks like he's going to be a 6th to 7th round pick if he's selected. There was somebody else you just mentioned that we were looking at. Who was it right before him?
Is it Badger?
Elijah Badger. I want to see, does anybody have him mocking anywhere, man? Where you at? Elijah Badger. So look at how his stock is. That's what I'm talking about.
It's weird.
At the end of the college football season, he was ranked 150th, and he's just sank out of sight. He had 0 drops, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
0 drops. And he was really good against man coverage. If you guys go to our Patreon group and you look in the collections tab, you'll see there's a segment for wide receiver prospects, and we did a breakdown of man coverage, the guys that were high on our board, man coverage, and their hands, basically their drop percentage. And he was one that was, man, give me him late in the draft. But, yeah, they've still got him going 6th or 7th, man. Hey, you take him in the 5th round, you're going to see me jump up off of that table. I might go Buffalo Bills fan and go through the table at the draft stream because I would love to see Elijah Badger in a Packers uniform, man. That would be awesome. So
Yeah.
I'm going to go to Brew McCoy now just real quick, not on screen, but just give you guys an idea of his RAS, a .69.
Wait, what?
Yeah, Brew McCoy. It said Mitch McCoy. Hold up a minute, wrong one. Now it's got to load again. I clicked on Brew, but it had reset and went to Mitch. Give me just a second here. Because you guys said he was an athletic freak. I seen that and was like .67. What are we talking about? So that was Mitch McCoy. That must be his cousin. Let's see. And Brew McCoy, when it comes to how he has risen or sank on the board here, according to Consensus Big Board, he's kind of around where he's always been, right? So as you can see, he bottomed out January 18th at 287, and it looks like he had peaked around 212, according to the mock draft database. Now, let me go back to real quick here. Brew McCoy. Yeah, he has an incomplete RAS, so that's why we didn't have anything there. So, according to the RAS website, 6'2", 209. He did not run the 40. He did not do any agility drills. He did not have an explosion test, or he just doesn't have that in the system yet. That could be the case. But his hand size, 10 inches, and his arm length, 32 inches. Pretty good measurables there. So, yeah, I don't know, man. That's kind of how we see Brew McCoy right now. Again, probably a 7th round pick. So, okay. Anybody else, Jacob?
No, I mean, I watched a bunch more, but this kind of took longer than I thought it would. We've been talking for 40 minutes about wide receivers.
Hey, people love wide receiver talk, man. And listen, it's a big topic for Green Bay because Christian Watson could come back in November and prove he's healthy, then he's stronger than it's ever been. We're good to go, and him get like a 1-year extension to kind of prove it deal, or go ahead and give him a contract like they did Rashawn coming off the ACL. That could happen. But also, he could hit a snag in that rehab process. I hope pray to sweet baby Jesus it doesn't happen, but he could hit something like that in the rehab process, like David Bakhtiari, and it really wreck his career. So you got to talk receiver, man. I hope Christian Watson's on the Packers for a long time. I think he's an absolute stud, but the reality is he is battling an injury. And since we're kind of talking about it here, why don't we do this? Jordan Love was actually out practicing with another Green Bay Packer. I want to give a shout out. I'm trying to think. Javier Cabrera tweeted this video out here. Pretty cool. As you can see, Jordan Love and Romeo Doubs getting that work in here out west, I believe it was. So I thought this was kind of. You see Jordan dropping back and hitting Dobby. So they're just out there getting a little more chemistry built. They work out every offseason. They worked out, to the best of my knowledge, while Romes was still in college. They had the same trainers, personal trainers, and they were working out in the offseason. That's why you've seen that. You've kind of seen that chemistry between those two. And I want to say this about Romeo Doubs. When he got frustrated last year, people were like, oh, he has no right to be frustrated and this and that. He's getting a good bulk of the targets. The writing was on the wall with the target shift that went to Dontavion Wicks. So if there was truly something behind the scenes with Romeo not happy with his role in the offense, this is a common practice, not just with the Packers, but across the league. If you've got somebody coming up for a contract and you've got somebody behind him that you think have a higher ceiling, you're going to bend those snaps to the guy who's on a longer rookie contract in Dontavion Wicks, albeit probably just 1 year, right? And take a little bit of the target share away from a wide receiver like a Romeo Doubs. That lowers his number if you want to re-sign him, but also you're getting the touches into the hands of the guy that you think isn't the progress stopper. In this case, you maybe think Romeo Doubs is a progress stopper. So if there was something going on there with Rome, Jacob, I think that's what that was. I think it was him looking up going, damn, they're taking my touches. right as I'm going into the contract year. And I understand fans are going to go, well, we don't care about your money. We care about what's best for the team. And I'm on board with that too. But putting yourself in the player's shoes, it kind of feels like the writing's on the wall there. So with that being said, if you go back to 23, Jordan's first year starting, and look at some of the catches that Romeo Doubs made with the game on the line, the sideline catch, I can't remember who they were playing, then the game winner that took them ahead, the back shoulder throw where he twists somehow, defies gravity, torques in the air, makes the game-winning touchdown catch, essentially the game-winning touchdown catch because the Saints would go on to miss a field goal. He has been kind of that big-name receiver. Now, also, you got to throw into the fact the suspension. That's a big factor. And then also, Jacob, the concussions. 2 concussions in a matter of a few weeks. Like, I hate to say it, but it kind of feels like the writing's on the wall. His time is limited. So when people ask, could you potentially take 2 receivers? I think it might have been Coach Lynn that asked it earlier in the chat. Yeah, if you see that, hey, there's absolutely no chance we re-sign Romeo Doubs. I don't know, man. I'm kind of got mixed feelings about it. I don't know how you feel about that. Before we wrap up hour 1 here, what do you think on Romeo Doubs, man?
I've been up and down with Dobbs. Like King Tron saying, I can't be the only one that sees Dobbs as a dog. I definitely saw him like that. It's just, I think that he's had one of the more unfortunate career arcs where it's not necessarily, I wouldn't blame it on him, but like you said, it's the off the field / on field issues, which probably stems from what you were just talking about, how he looks behind him and sees, especially the way the Packers front office, it's a business first. As much as we like to think that Packers guys are Packers guys for life, we've seen it that the opposite is kind of true. Is just the second they're a little too long in the teeth, the Packers organization is not afraid to cut bait and get rid of people. So that has to be in the back of his mindset. Then you couple that, like you said, with the injury issues, and then the concussions. To me, is the biggest thing, because Rome has always been kind of a unique individual, a unique character. That minus concussion talk, you're always like, is he okay? Is he good? Yeah. And then you add in.
I think he grew up rough, man. I really do. I think he's one of these guys that worked his ass off to get where he's at. And, there is a little bit of a social awkward. I relate to that. If we meet up at the draft and you guys get to meet me in person, you're going to go, well, I thought you'd talk more, because I am not good around people and crowds, man. Anyway, I didn't mean to cut you off. I kind of relate to that, I guess is what I was trying to say, Jake.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm the same way. Back in the day, it would take quite a few daddy sodas to get me to open up. And then
once you do, though.
That's what I was going to say. But yeah, no, I'm kind of the same way. I believe that may be just his kind of his archetype, it just maybe that's just his personality. I don't think that's something that he's putting on as a show. Right. But at the same time, that it is a little bit different from what we're used to in Green Bay. You look at a guy like a Donald Driver, smile, happy, wants to shake your hand and kiss the babies. And then you see Rome. It's like, I'll just caught the ball. That's it. Right. That's all you get. So I don't know, man. Oh, CJN throwing in a big old data here. Hey. Says, I haven't been around for a few months. Still love the show. Just not able to catch live much. Man, that was too nice of you. Appreciate that.
Thank you, CJN. Appreciate the dono there, man. Yeah, I've got several podcasts I listen to too, and I try to do super chats when I can catch them live, and it's the same thing. That's usually my message 90% of the time. Guys, I'm crazy busy, can't catch you live, but just know we're watching, love the show. So thank you for that, CJ, and we appreciate you, buddy. It's good to see you in here, man. It's one thing about the morning shows, you get some of the crowd that can't make the evening shows that are able to hop in. But again, just give a shout out here to Javier Cabrera. Y'all go give him a follow at JA Cabrera 24. He's the one who posted that video out there where he was, I guess, close by where they were doing the workouts and stuff. So that's going to do it for hour 1. For those of you listening on the pod, we will see you on the other side for hour 2, where we're going to talk edge defender. We appreciate y'all. All right, welcome into hour 2. Jacob, anything else as we get ready to wrap up? As King Tron gifting 5 total access memberships. That means 5 more people will be entered into the contest to we're going to be giving away an autographed Katan Oladapo rookie card tomorrow on tomorrow night's show. So get ready for that. Also, shout out to United Bates, who actually purchased you can gift Patreon memberships, evidently. So he gifted a Patreon membership. He sent me the link. So we got to figure out a way to give that away, because we do the giveaways through the Patreon group. and he wanted to gift a Patreon membership. So maybe we'll do that live on the stream one day or something. We'll just do a quick trivia or something, or I don't know. We'll do something. I say that, Jacob, I hate trivia on podcasts I listen to. People do trivia. I'm like, I change it to the next podcast. So maybe we won't do trivia. We'll just do a random giveaway one day. So shout out to Bates, always supporting the show. And Tron, thank you, buddy. All right. So let's talk a little edge defender. Is that good with you, Jacob?
Yes. Can I just highlight one thing here? Chase Green, before it gets too lost in the weeds, he just said, I'd love to see more dagger and 21 personnel against cover 2. We have Jacobs and Reed. Let's make teams pay for running too high against us. Yes. I agree. Do you agree with that?
Totally on board with that, man. And if you run dagger, here we go. If you run dagger out of 21 personnel, I personally like 12 better than 21. Of course, 21, if you're saying 21, you're probably talking about like a Chris Brooks and a Josh Jacobs, or a Josh Jacobs and a Marshawn Lloyd, somebody like that, Emmanuel Wilson, both of them in the backfield. Imagine a scenario where you run dagger, where you've got 21, and on the tight end side, you're running dagger, where you'll have the tight end attack the seam, and then the outside receiver run a dig. Well, guess what happens? You clear out with the go route of the dagger, right? You're going to pull the linebacker back and over with the dig, and now imagine Josh Jacobs on a little angle route inside underneath with a full head of steam running out of safety or something. Hey, sign me up, dude. Sign me up. And if you got those safeties on the shelf, yeah, man. What you do with that dagger, some people will go, well, you're wasting dagger if you're running it into a too high look, because you're stretching, you're running right into the strength of their defense with that. That holds the safety at bay and creates a void underneath. And if that void is not there because they're taking away the dig, now you've got the secondary void on underneath with the angle route. So yeah, man, love it, Chase, love that chalk talk, bro, love it. I want to hit this real quick. I thought this was awesome. Put a tweet out earlier. Brett Favre was at an event that was an autograph signing session, and you see Jordan Love showed up as well. I think this is the guy who runs the event. I wish I knew his name. We'd give him a shout out, but thought it was cool how much Jordan Love supports Brett Favre. You remember last year, I think it was, when Brett was diagnosed with Parkinson's, Jordan wore the Favre jersey into the game, and it was cool too, because live on the show, his personal, what was it called? Not dresser or whatever. Like the people, these players have people that are like, hey, you should do this. You should wear this today. You should wear that today. It was her idea to have him wear the Brett Favre jersey since it came out that Brett was battling Parkinson's. So I thought that was cool. She was actually in our chat. She told us that. She said, hey, yeah, it was really neat. It was on game day. But anyway, look at Favre's shirt, that old County Stadium shirt. How cool is that, bro? I seen that and I thought that's awesome. I think this was down around Atlanta, Georgia, or maybe it might have been in Hattiesburg. But anyway, we got to be careful here with some of the copyright stuff. And of course, X is saying, hey, why don't you pay us some money to boost that? No, sir. There's the picture, if you guys don't remember, the last game at County Stadium in the playoffs, where Mike Holmgren told Brett, whatever you do here, we don't have any timeouts. You cannot run the football. Throw it away. He dropped back. Didn't even complete his drop, rolled right, and ran it in for a touchdown. So absolutely love it, man. Love it. So thought that was cool that, again, Jordan Love just showing some love, showing up there to that autograph session with Brett Favre. That would have been a great one to attend for sure. So anyway, now on to edge defender. Let's get into it, Jacob. You got any thoughts before we break down? And here's kind of the theme of what we're going to do here. Last night we talked about the receivers, I think is what we talked about, that the Packers had met with top 30 visits. Like, hey, these are guys that could potentially be a pick with 23 or possibly in the second round. You got any initial thoughts on edge defender before we dive into this article real quick? And it's a very, very short read. It's mostly just information. It's not, reading off scouting reports from a sense of like, I've topped up. We got Dane Brugler's scouting report, that type of thing.
Yeah, I mean, I'm more interested to see which avenue the Packers go down. Are they going to get the prototypical Packers pick, which is a 6'5", 280-pound guy that has the RAS that's all up the wazoo, that never really produced but has all the traits of somebody that possibly, in theory, could be a shutdown edge? Or are they going to go with someone that could be a little more undersized, like, let's say, Ezeraku, or the guy from Michigan, James Pierce, or somebody that's a little bit lighter, that's more of a speed rusher, kind of going against the type of person that we usually prototypically draft. I think that's going to be my biggest, basically I'm looking at like a Ezeraku or a Shamar Stewart. Like, which kind of player are they going to go with? They're going to go with a guy that has maybe a little bit undersized, doesn't meet the measurables, but has unbelievable production. Or are they going to go with the opposite, somebody that is an RAS, freak of nature, but has basically no stats that you can speak of, or somewhere in between. That's kind of where, AFM's saying, please draft a speed rush edge rusher, says no more LVNs. It's shocking that AFM has something critical to say. I can't even believe it. But clutch the pearls. Who would have ever thought, right? Joseph right here. I was actually just going to say, I'm starting to think a guy like Landon Jackson is becoming more and more realistic. I start thinking about guys that just would fit that kind of prototypical person. Like I see Landon Jackson as kind of a Preston Smith type. You know what I mean?
Let me say this about Landon Jackson. In order for him to make that short list, we've got the gold list, and now we've added to our board. I should have pulled it up first. You're going to see, guys, you guys in the Patreon group, you have access to this board. Emilio posted an update last night. Next to players' names, you're going to see 2 players on the list that has a black spade next to the left of their name. That means they are prime for the picking for the Packers, okay? And let me explain why. The Packers love Senior Bowl guys. Every one of their draft picks last year, other than 3 prospects, were Senior Bowl guys, okay? They love their athletic threshold. That means that the player was a Senior Bowl participant, and they met the athletic threshold, and they were a top 30 visit. If that's the case, you'll see a black spade next to their name. There's only 2 of them so far. Now, with that being said, Landon Jackson, you just mentioned one of my favorite prospects, meets the athletic threshold. At least he has not been disqualified from the athletic threshold. There may be information withheld, but that's okay. He was a Senior Bowl participant. He was a team captain. He meets the athletic threshold. His RAS was a 9+. Greg Cosell absolutely loved him. If he was the pick at 23, no problem at all. No problem at all. But the problem so far, it's not necessarily a problem. Just because he's not a top 30 visit doesn't mean he won't be, and it doesn't mean he wouldn't be a draft pick either. But right now, he doesn't make this list because he's not a top 30. We're keying on the top 30 visits up to this point. But yeah, Landon Jackson, I'd be on board with for sure.
Okay.
All right. So let's do it. Let's hit this article real quick. I said, well, one thing is clear this offseason, and it's that Brian Gutekunst has edge defender on his mind going into the draft. Below are the 3 top edge defenders that the Packers have had in their top 30 visits, along with their rankings on our PTA Big Board, as well as Dane Brugler's scouting report. So let's start off with James Pierce Jr. Everybody's board, James Pierce Jr. is sinking out of sight. You notice that, right? We're keeping him put. He's in the 12 spot on our board, okay? Here is what Dane Brugler had to say. A 2-year starter at Tennessee, Pierce played the Leo position in defensive coordinator Tim Banks' scheme, primarily lining up out wide, so a wide 9 look essentially is what he ran all the time. Despite being in and out of the lineup, 35.5 defensive snaps per game in 23, 35.7 in 24, he still led the Vols in sacks and tackles for loss as both a sophomore and junior. His 107 pressures over the past 2 seasons ranked him number 1 in the SEC, number 6 in all of college football. Although not a technician, Pierce is a fast, linear athlete who can win races to the edge or collapse the pocket with force behind his extended upward levers, 23% pass rush win rate in 24. Second best in FBS. He was steady with his effort against the run in college, but more will be needed of him to hold up against NFL competition. Overall, Pierce is a upright and frenetic in his play style, but his blend of explosiveness and power creates consistent disruption as a pass rusher. He shows promise in the run game, too. If he works to maximize his talents, he will be a productive pro. I heard you whistling, man. That's some damn good production, Jacob.
24% pass rush win rate is insane.
Yeah.
Absolutely insane.
Here is strengths: tall, athletic build and long arms, explosive first step and with fast hands and feet to escape blocks, gains ground in a hurry to beat tackles to the corner, chop/rip hands are heavy and help pry open blockers' shoulders, rushes to depth of the pocket and works back towards the ball, converts speed to power because of immediate acceleration regardless of the angle, shows basic understanding of steps to effect the tackle and create two-way go opportunities, downhill speed test reaction quickness of interior blockers guarding a gap, shows general idea of how to use hands in the run game, productive, ranks top 10 in school history with 19 and a half sacks.
And real quick, just because I know that frenetic means wildly excited or active, frantic or frenzied. Because I saw that word and I went, what?
And also Deadfish says, what's a Leo position? So when you get into college football breakdowns, Deadfish, you see all kinds of different terminology. To the best of my knowledge with the research I've done, like if you go and watch Notre Dame, Marcus Freeman has a position called Viper. That sounds way cooler than Leo, right? Viper is it's a hybrid linebacker, a hybrid pass rusher. And what they like to do is put this guy on the edge, but he can drop into coverage. So like if you're showing, and they run a multiple defense, let's say they're running a 34 front or even a 4-3 front, and they've got him at Viper. He could rush the passer or he could drop back into coverage. Now, you say, okay, that sounds unique. It's not. The Packers did it. Let me give you an idea. How many times during Chalk Talk this year did you hear us say 55 drop, 55 drop? That's Kingsley Enagbare. Guess what? They like to put him in the lineup where he could rush the passer, right? But he's got that very tall frame, long arms, that type of build that he can drop into coverage, and you show a 5-man front and drop him out. That's going to create what you're forcing the quarterback to do is make post-snap decisions. And that's what you want to do on a consistent basis, right? You want to remove as much information pre-snap that you can and then make them read the defense post-snap. Coach Lynn says we call him a jackbacker. There you go. There's a lot of different nicknames for those kind of hybrid-type guys. That's what it sounds like Leo was in Tennessee, much like the Viper at Notre Dame. Hopefully that answers your question. Thank you for the insight there, Coach. I love when I have something, I call it something, Jacob. I love when I see Coach Lynn and I go, Coach, what do y'all call that? It's always different, always. Mm-hmm. So, and people will get hung up on the whole pissing contest of I'm right, they're wrong. No, you shouldn't call that, blah, blah, blah. But, yeah, anyway. SDM40, apparently they use Pierce exclusively as a wide 9 on the weak side. There you go. And that's what they like to do with Viper at Notre Dame. It's always weak side most of the time. Or, I'm sorry, it'll be boundary side, okay, short side of the field. You got field side, you got boundary side, depending on where you're at on the hash. He was always on one with the T on an island, talking about the tackle. Just an FYI from some who did deep dives. Appreciate you, SDM40. Thank you for the information there, bud. Thank you. All right, let's get to the weaknesses, man. There are no perfect prospects in the game of football, right? So here is James Pierce Jr.'s weaknesses, okay? Lean, leggy player, but has inconsistent bend at the top of the rush, tight through hips, limiting smoothness of redirects, fly-by rusher, misses plays in the backfield because he's out of control. This is what Greg Cosell said. He needs a runway to rush the passer, right? Meaning a wide-ass runway, or else, he's probably going to get, off track. Always looking to time up the snap, which will backfire at times. Flag for offsides 5 times in 2024. You know how it is in the NFL, Jacob. Those quarterbacks will trick you to jumping offsides all day long. Mm-hmm. Pad level is inconsistent and gets him in trouble in the run game. Solid play strength, but can be neutralized by powerful blockers who can cinch him up. Streaky, lockout, and tardy getting off of blocks to influence the play. Arrested on traffic charges, speeding, driving on suspended license, failure after a stop in December 2023. All charges later dismissed. This was the thing that we uncovered. Like, this is the negative mark on him, was he got pulled over with no license. Okay, and then somebody had responded and said it was way worse than that. He got smart with the cops. I'm like, hell, who hasn't got smart? Yes. Yeah, this is not the podcast for you. Believe me, I respect law enforcement, but there have been many times I'm like, bro, you're being an ass. Like, what's the deal here? Anyway, interview process will be crucial. NFL scout, quote, I want to be convinced that he loves this. Okay, so, and again, let's go back to what the scouts said. Ryan read the scouting report. 3 anonymous scouts through Bob McGinn's article. So we don't have a name of a scout. We don't have a name of the team that the scout works for. All we have are 3 randos that said this dude was a problem at Tennessee. Guys, I said it last night. I'll say it again. I live about an hour and 15 minutes from Neyland. It's nothing but UT football sports talk around here. Emilio lives 20, maybe 30 minutes away from him. We never heard one negative thing about James Pierce Jr., and he was voted a team captain as well. So I'm just going to leave it at that. Put your name on it, or I'm going to pretend like it doesn't exist is the way I see that. So,
you know what pops off the page right here?
What's that?
The weaknesses almost to an exact T. I almost was going to bring it up, but I remember them very clearly. This was the large knock on Brenton Cox Jr. That when you watched him, he was an absolute. He needed a wide avenue to get to the quarterback, constantly overrushing, constantly getting duped on play action, and when the passer would step up in the pocket, just completely blazing past and not having the control. Was absolutely ridiculed with hard counts and long counts. Pad level would shoot up and be way too upright. And if a guy like Brenton Cox Jr., who as well was kind of marred for having quote unquote personality and off-field issues, if he can turn it around and develop into the type of player that he did, I think that it does lead credence that the Packers might be willing to take a flyer on a guy like this.
There you go. All right. King Tron said earlier, everyone please like, comment, and sub for the boys. Also, please share with all your cheesehead friends and family that deserve to know this great show exists. Go Pack Go. Thank you so much for that, Tron. We appreciate the kind words, buddy.
Appreciate it.
I hate to ask, but yeah, if you hit the like button, it helps. It helps more than you guys know. I know some people like, man, I can't afford $3 a month to help with the Patreon. Completely understand, man. Times get hard. I got you. It costs $0 to hit that like button, right? And it helps, like I said, more than you know. So I'm with you, Jacob. This dude, if he's sitting there at 23, I'm going to be honest with you, man. I'm going to be looking at our board going, we got a borderline top 10 talent sitting right here in our face. And you guys know I'm not team, we got to draft an edge. I'm more team, I'd rather have a 3-tech, right? Or Egbuka in the first round. If that guy's sitting there, man. And that was the other negative that they said about him, Jacob. They said one teammate said he's really intense in the locker room. Good. What do you want him in there drinking a carton of milk? Yay! What are we talking about here? Like, I want pissed off defenders is what I want. So anyway, up next on the list, Shamar Stewart in the 15 spot on our big board. All right. Look at this poor quarterback's eyes right here, Jake. He's like, what New Mexico State, what did I get myself into here? Here's what we got with Shamar Stewart out of Texas A&M. 1-year starter at Texas A&M. Stewart lined up primarily as an edge rusher in head coach Mike Elko's 4-man front, also spending time head up over the tackle and inside over the B gap. That's what you refer to. We were talking about nicknames. When you hear the term joker, that's what a joker is. When you put them in that A and B gap and stand them up over those guys, okay? Let's see here. He is the type of prospect who would test the traits over production slogan that NFL teams subscribe to, as he never had more than 1.5 sacks in any of his 3 seasons in College Station. However, his tape shows a far more disruptive player. He led the Aggies in pressures with 39 in 2024. Stewart explodes out of his stance and is capable of creating immediate knockback or winning high side with upfield burst and flexibility. His countermeasures require maintenance, although he finds a lot of success based on his initial swipe or long arm move. The number one area in which he needs to improve is as a finisher. He has the athleticism to get the ball, but has no business missing as many tackles as he does, especially given his power and movements. Overall, Stewart needs to mature his pass rush efficiency and finishing skills, but he has a rare combination of talent and motor to be a game wrecker against both the pass and the run. His best football is ahead of him. Again, it's opposite of James Pierce Jr. This guy meets the physical threshold to a T, Jacob, but he doesn't have the production, right? If he had James Pierce Jr.'s college production, probably going number 1. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. And he does kind of scare me a little bit just because other than 2024, I mean, even if you consider that quote unquote production before that, it was really scarce. Seems like he stays on the field decently well, though. Doesn't look like he missed much time whatsoever. But in 2022, with almost the exact same snaps, or I'm sorry, more snaps than he had in 2023, he had a 46.3 grade. He played in 12 games, so it's not like he didn't have a lot of opportunities. He did have 2 sacks, 3 hits, 9 hurries. But if you jump into 2023, he improved quite a bit to a 69.5. and then 2024 improved again to a 79.5. So obviously you see, a younger guy that's probably coming into his own, but there's just something about it I don't trust with him. Like they said, the fact that he misses too many. I mean, they almost worded it in a way where like it's shocking how many tackles he misses for how big and outlandish he is. And you love the measurables, the long arms, all that kind of stuff. I'm just done with projects. I'm done with people that are like, we got to polish this turd and he's going to be something. But it's like, I don't want to do that.
Yeah. And it's crazy because, like, if we get there on draft night and he's available, the board is going to say pick him, right? And we always say trust the board, trust the board. Of the edge defenders we're talking about, he's the one that I'm like, man, it's either a home run or it's a strikeout, And I think I want those guys that you look at and go, that guy's going to get you a double. You know what I mean? That's kind of how I'm looking at it. So here are the strengths of Shamar Stewart. Rare athletic balance and fluidity for a 285-pounder. Explosive off the ball with the flexibility to turn the corner and flatten. Uses long arms and natural power to stab and separate from initial blocks. Able to shake free with a cross chop, club rip, or a variety of different swipes. Rangy player and doesn't labor in transitions, allowing him to chase down ball carriers. Smart contained player and sets a hard edge. Uses wide base and body flexibility to root himself at the point of attack, rarely pushed out of his gap. Lateral quickness helps him blow up backside runs. Surprises pulling blockers and ball carriers with closing bursts, so cutting off those power plays sounds like. Plays his butt off for all 4 quarters and competes with competitive edge. His nickname is, quote, the Menace. And then versatile skill set, which allows him to play multiple positions up front. Played a 3-tech, a 4-eye, a 5, and a 7-tech is where he played at. So that I really like that 4-quarter comment there, man. That makes me go, maybe, Here are the weaknesses, though. This is where they'll talk us out of it. Major finishing issues, like AFAM upper. 26.9% missed tackle rate in college. Struggles to break down on the move and stay under control as a tackler. Too many flyby misses. That's what you were talking about, Jacob. Mm-hmm. Move to move, sequencing a pass rusher is still in the development phase, so he's got to kind of create that repertoire of, moves that he's going to kind of – you got to link them together as you go. You're setting guys up. And I think that's one of the problems with Green Bay's hockey line rotation there is those pass rushers don't really get a true opportunity to set those blockers up like that. It's like by the time you get them set up for your counter move, we're going to another rotation, right? Can get caught upright at times and spend too much time hand fighting, leaving him late to react to the run. And then basement level sack production with 4.5 sacks on 680 career pass rushes. That is a lot.
That's not good.
Yeah,
that's not good.
Anything else there on Shamar, man?
Yeah, this is the exact thing. It's the 26.9% missed tackle rate. And granted, that's usually not in space, guys. You know what I mean? That's like being where he's at on the field. I'm assuming that he's missing guys where they're brutal misses. And I absolutely can't stand that because when I think back to the Packers – other than this last year where we were pretty decent against the run, it's that when you see the initial man make contact behind the line of scrimmage and then somehow he ends up with a 6-yard run, you know what I mean? Or a 6-yard gain, whatever the case is, that drives me more insane than anything possibly as a Packers fan is seeing that you had the defensive coordinator called a great scheme. You executed it perfectly. You're in position. You're there to make a tackle for a loss. And because you as a person can't make the tackle, like the level 1 type stuff that you're taught when you're in Pee-wee football, that to me is inexcusable. So again, I do not want to waste a high draft pick on a guy that we need to fix his tackling. Like that to me is not somebody that deserves a 1st-round grade.
Yeah. Yeah, it's tough, man, because the pressure's again, through the roof, right? But yeah, it's a tough look. Next is a guy. I think I like this guy better than Shamar Stewart. Go ahead, Jacob. What are you going to say, Bo?
No, I'm just saying if you break down that math, Mr. Stewart gets a sack on 0.006% of all of his snaps. What are we doing, guy?
Come on, guy. What are you doing?
It's just not good.
You getting back there in the quarterback's lap and going, I could have got you. I could have got you.
Look at my arms.
All right, number 21 on our list. And here's a guy that is I think a little further down the road than Shamar Stewart in understanding how to rush the passer. This is according to Greg Cosell and what the tape shows. But again, not a perfect prospect either. We got him in the 21 spot. He would be worthy of the 23rd pick. That's Mykel Williams, edge defender out of Georgia. Here's what Dane Brugler had to say. 2-year starter at Georgia, Williams played jack edge rusher. There you go, Jack Backer. In head coach Kirby Smart's scheme, aligning all over the front seven, from 3 to 5 technique to stand up outside linebacker, a consensus top 10 recruit out of high school. That's huge. He made an immediate impact as a freshman, several key plays versus Ohio State in the playoffs, and consistently flashed over his career. His junior season wasn't the true breakout year many expected on the stat sheet, but he set career best in sacks and tackles for loss despite dealing with a left ankle sprain that he re-injured multiple times during the season. Williams has a rare mix of bend and length for a pass rusher that can be a battering ram when he wants to be. But NFL teams want to see him develop finesse and more easily accessible counters in his rush attack. Though there are plenty of examples on tape of Williams maximizing his length and power advantages to push the pocket or set the edge, he needs to do it more consistently for quicker wins and block sheds. Overall, Williams is more toolsy than nuanced, and needs to develop a more unified pass rush plan. The individual traits, length, strength, explosiveness, promising toughness, and football character, however, are reasons to bet on his upside. Similar in ways to Jason Pierre-Paul, he projects as an NFL starter on the edge. Wasn't it JPP that was it
blew
JPP?
His hand off?
Yeah, blew his hand off. So, man, that was a weird situation. That was almost as weird as Plaxico Burress shooting himself in the leg at that nightclub. You know what I mean?
Were they both Giants?
Yeah, they were. That's what maybe immediately went from missing fingers to this dude shot himself in the leg. Like,
Right.
Yeah, that's common in Kentucky. You just don't expect it on a pro football player. You know what I mean?
Sure,
People
yeah.
accidentally shoot themselves all the time. So, in the leg. All right, strengths. Looks the part with an NFL frame and arms the length of an anaconda. I don't know why people do write-ups like this. Like, just say his arms are long. What are we doing here? We're not trying to write a damn novel. Uses crazy length and raw strength to jar blockers and force through bodies. Promising bull, swipe, and bull pull maneuvers. That's that punch, pull, and swim move we talk about, I would imagine. Violently tears through the tight end blocks. Loose, flexible athlete. Shut up, Jacob. Loose, flexible athlete with long strides to capture the corner. Models his game after Myles Garrett. I'm not looking over there. Able to slip and circle around guards. Why are we using these words? Able to slip and circle around guards from inside alignment. Closes fast on the quarterback when he has an open lane. Functional strength to stay square and anchor down to stop the run. Smart read defender and maintains gap discipline. Light on his feet. Now every word is just popping off the screen. Light on his feet to drop in flat, bat down passes or track down screen targets. Flashes secondary motor. Of course, he's flashing, right? To chase from the backside. We were 12 years old, Jacob. We were 12 years old. Defensive coaches cross-trained him at multiple positions in the front seven. I'm not looking at these comments. Served as a team. I can see them flashing on the screen, but I'm not reading them. Served as a team captain for 4 games in 2024. Strong character feedback from coaches. Kirby Smart said, quote, he's very versatile for us in terms of on the field, but there is no greater value than what he does in the locker room. He's a great leader for us. This is my guy thing, man. This is one of those dudes that if we're going edge defender and James Pierce Jr. is gone and Shamar Stewart's sitting there, I think I would rather have Mykel Williams over James Pierce Jr. What do you think so far before we get into the negatives?
I mean, this was a dude that I definitely, for whatever reason, I just put up a blocker on him and I just thought, nah, he's not the guy. I don't want him to be the guy. But when you look more into the schematics and the stats and all that, it is hard not to like him. I mean, it really isn't. And I don't know if you know this, Clayton, but the Packers tend to sometimes enjoy drafting Georgia Bulldogs. Seems to be maybe something of a pattern, if you will.
Hold on, man, Jacob. I'm about to turn the camera around on my wife. She's over here dancing, trying to get me to laugh. I'm about to put her on camera. Anyway, go ahead. I'm sorry.
She's trying to laugh.
Just the comments, like everything I just had to go through in the last minute and a half, and she's going to come up here, kick the door up, and start dancing. Like, unbelievable. Go ahead, man. Sorry.
No, it's
there's Joseph. Big M.
Hi, Mandy.
Go ahead, Jacob. Please finish this. Bye. Be careful. Love you too.
No, I just I wouldn't mind having him on the squad, man. It would be a little bit of a head scratcher just because of the fact it's like where are we going to fit him in? Like we already have that hockey rotation, like you talked about. So in the first, even as intriguing as I do like James Pierce Jr., it's the same conundrum that we're going to be in. It's like, where does he get snaps? Whose snaps is he taking away from? And is this actually going to be one of the biggest things that's going to be a catalyst to the success of the 2025 Packers? I just don't quite see it at that edge position unless it's an Abdul Carter or a difference, an absolute freak. So that's where I'm maybe starting to pull back a little bit on my own edge projections. And like you said, I think I asked you, I said, could we do an exercise where we actually look at if a guy's drafted in this position, realistically, does he have a shot of playing? Because up until very recently, the Packers were known for drafting a guy and you let him sit and you didn't give him field priority over a veteran or something like that. So going forward, I would like to see that change, but I also understand that, like, I don't want Brenton Cox Jr. to see less snaps because we get some random flyer on a guy. I don't want Kingsley necessarily to get less. So it
would take a player. What was it Ryan said? It depends on which website you're looking at. I think Ryan said that Brenton Cox Jr. had like an 18% pressure rate at the second half of the season. Yep. So, like, it would take a Michael Williams eclipsing that to justify taking a Brenton Cox Jr. off the field. But, Jacob, I'm going to say this too, man. Remember what I said about Romeo Doubs? This is a real thing that happens in the NFL. If you're looking at a Brenton Cox Jr. and you're going, okay, he's going to be coming up for a contract in the next year or two, and you draft someone like this at edge, you got under contract for 4 years. Don't you think for a second that GM and that coaching staff isn't thinking, let's get some more snaps for the younger dude that's under contract longer. And that lowers the value of Brenton Cox Jr. If the coaches really like him, then you get him pennies on the dollar as opposed to – that's a real thing that happens, in my opinion. It really is. So, Coach Lynn, go ahead. Oh, I'm sorry. Prince says, Enigbare entering a contract year. Hey, that's a great point. What we just said, Jacob. Maybe they tapered Enigbare back. You bring in an edge defender. And now what it's going to become is those two rotational guys will be a Michael Williams, a Shamar Stewart, or a James Pierce Jr., along with Brenton Cox Jr. You boys might be onto something. And again, you want to know how people truly feel about a situation? You look at their checkbook and their calendar, right? Where's Goody spending time? Top 30 visits with edge defenders. Who are some of the highest paid players in the league that get the checks are getting wrote for? Edge defender. I think you boys are onto something here, man. I really do.
Coach also brings up too. We forget Aaron Mosby, man. That guy absolutely flashed at certain points too. So it's like we have a really deep rotation. We even have a deep bench right now. So it's who do you want to cut? Who do you want to prioritize? So unless an absolute gem falls to us, which you like basically you make Goody an offer you can't refuse. It's like. I don't see him gumming up the works that much where it's like, you know what I mean? How many people can you throw on practice squad and keep them in a certain amount of time where it's like, that's the only other thing where I've heard people be like, we need to trade back and Goody doesn't like the amount of picks he has. I mean, what do we got? Like, is it 7 right now or 8? But if we trade back and let's say we get 10 to 12 or whatever people say, there's a lot of people on this team that would be giving up roster spots in order to get these guys in, which don't get me wrong. I love the turnaround. I love my late round gems, my UDFAs. You guys know how cheap I am. But at some point, you got to protect the core 53 and figure out who's your best and not just taking flyers on people.
Yeah. Let me hear that mob voice one more time that you have, man. That Italian mob voice. Hit me.
I think bring him the gabagool, the paisano.
The best guy around.
Weaknesses for who are we even talking about? Michael Williams doesn't have consistent rush plan or arsenal of secondary moves. Too much wasted movements with the hands, reverts back to strength, which I would rather you revert to strength. Like that's what Greg Cosell talks about all the time. You've got to have a power rush to play in the league. If you don't have a power rush, you better develop it quick because you will get owned for sure. Played in a deep rotation and averaged just 33.5 defensive snaps per game in 2024, 29.3 in 2023, 27.1 in 2022. So this is something that's happening across college football, not just the NFL with these hockey line type rotations. Missed 2 games and parts of several others because of a grade 2 high left ankle sprain, September of 2024. He missed 2023 spring practices after aggravating previous foot injury, which required surgery in April 2023. So it looks like a high ankle sprain as recent as September 2024. So that's something to get, got him in for a top 30 visit, right? Check that out. Get the doctor's hands on that ankle and make sure everything's good, nothing long term, right? So there you go. And again, you can check that article along with everything else we put together over at patreon.com/PackerFan Total Access. $3 a month, get you access to everything on the site. The giveaways as well. Again, make sure you're on there before tomorrow. Let's say before midnight tonight, and you'll be in the running for the autographed Catano Ladapo rookie card. Jacob, you got anything else, man, before we wrap up, dude? I think we crushed it time-wise, man. We covered a lot.
Yeah, you know what? You guys have convinced me. I'm going to join this Patreon thing.
I think you're already in there. Are you not?
I'm not in there, no.
Okay, so it wasn't you that had the derogatory name in there?
No, why would I do that?
Now I don't know.
I swear to God, I'm not in there. I don't even know how to join.
Yeah, we had someone join. His first name was, I think, Pig, and his last name rhymed with Venus. So,
I swear I'm not him.
I was like, this has got to be Jacob. That wasn't you. Wow. All right. Cool. Yeah, jump in there, man. Jump in there, and I'm going to try to get it set up to where I can make you guys administrators where you can post articles if you want to in there, stuff like that. Just kind of different.
Oh, I mean, nobody's going to take up a Bucket's golden bag. That's for
you
sure.
got that right. Actually, Buckets hasn't been around for a couple of days, man. I think he's on a bender right now, Jacob. So we'll see. But,
he deserves it.
Anything else, man? Anything at all?
I did actually have something. I can't remember where I put it. Colin Oliver. I saw people asking about him in the chat. I was wondering, are you able to pull him up on PFF by chance? Or I believe he's an edge / linebacker tweener that was out of Oregon State, if I'm not mistaken.
Let me just pull up my board. That way we can see where he ranked at.
Sure. Actually, I can pull him up on my PFF here.
All right, what's the name again?
Colin Oliver or Olivier. I believe it is so COLLINOLIVER.
Oklahoma State.
Yes, that's it. Oklahoma State. Yep. So
go ahead, Jake.
Now I'm just going to say in 2022 and 2023, decent grades, 71.5, 73. Decent production. He had a lot of hurries. That was kind of one of his big things, very much disruptor. But in 2024, now he only played 2 games and he had an injury. So obviously we're going to put an asterisk next to that. But in those 2 games, he was absolutely elite. He had a pass rush grade of 90.8, run defense grade of just around 70. His pass rush win rate in 2 games was 31.8%. He had a true pass set rush grade of 85.4. He's predominantly played outside tackle and off ball. But he just looks like he could develop into an absolute monster that's going to absolutely tank. Yeah, he was around 50. He was being drafted in the 50th to 100th. He was right around 80 when the draft started. After everything happened with his injuries and being a lot of other people just being talked about, he's catapulted down to 250th. So basically almost not being drafted. If the Packers want to take a flyer on a guy, he's 6'2", 240, not the biggest, but his bend and the way that he was just a monster those 2 games, which again, it's 2 games, but one of them was against Arkansas. One of them was against Jackrabbits. Tucker Crafts. Was it South Dakota? So it's
that's what I call him too. Tucker Crafts School. That's what I always say.
Yeah. But it was one of those guys. I saw a bunch of people mentioning him in the chat because I'm sure they looked at that 2024 grade and saw what he's actually done production wise. It's an interesting guy to keep an eye on. I would just say that.
Got it. Well, we've got him in the 268 spot. All right. He did not meet the athletic threshold. The Packers have not met with him at any point, to the best of my knowledge. The reason he got to that point on our board, 302nd in his position in 22. Then he jumps to 200. Then he jumped all the way to 18th this year. 18th best edge defender if we took it down. PFF Big Board, however, had him at 241 somehow. And the consensus big board had him at 286. Now, you notice there's no RAS. I just looked it up. He actually scored a 9+ RAS. So you're going to see him the list. So remember 181.7. Now he's going to leapfrog up to right around Fadil Diggs's spot there at about the 265 spot. And in terms of the RAS, it is somewhat incomplete, but it was enough to give a complete RAS score, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. They showed him at 6'1.5", 240 pounds, 24 bench reps, pretty solid there with an 8.33, 40-yard dash, 4.56. That's really impressive. 9.74 overall grade there. His it looks like
he had a 4.5 40.
Yeah, it shows a 4.56 here on his card. Yes, Colin Oliver out of Oklahoma State, right?
Yep.
Now his arms only 30 3/4 of an inch, and his hand size 9.5 inches. But yeah, 4.56. Somebody's going to draft this dude. I just about guarantee it. So. That's a nice pull there, man. Somebody to keep an eye on. Now, I think it's highly unlikely the Packers take him because of how they love their athletic threshold. But matter of fact, I've got another article we were going to get on, but we didn't have time. I'm just going to take a quick glance here. It's another article you guys can find in the Patreon group. What did we just say? 6'1", 240, right? 6'1", 240. So if we go edge defender, the shortest that the Packers have ever drafted was Kendall Donnerson, and he was in the 7th round. He was 6'3", and the lightest was Kendall Donnerson at 250 pounds. So, if we were to draft Colin Oliver, he would be the shortest and the lightest that we've ever drafted at that position. That's kind of So, and in terms of reach, we have arms. The shortest arms on edge defenders is actually Brenton Cox Jr., I believe, at 33 inches. So he would also have the shortest arms, Colin Oliver. But again, 33 is kind of that mark, though, where you're like, if you're close to 33 inches, whether it's 32 3/4, you get to 33 or eclipse it, you got really nice arm length to rush the passer and block if you're a tackle.
Man, he's a very unique person. 6'2", like you said, is well under what the Packers do. The weight as well.
Actually, his arms hard.
Yeah, his arms are not long whatsoever, but then his 40 is 87th percentile. The vert is 93rd. Broad jump is 92nd. Span is 80th. Like that's a weird body type right there.
Yeah. So again, he got the RAS bonus for us there. So I'm glad you brought him up, man. That's how we grab this.
There's a lot of people saying that he is not going to be an edge, that he's going to be a tweener that's more of a Sam linebacker, and so that would be another little, asterisk to put in his repertoire there. That 4.52 makes sense then.
Yeah. And we loved using Edgerrin Cooper on those scrapes, right? So that's something that's a possibility. We need a backer. I'm hoping it's Stutzman, but if you were to go get someone like this, that's really going to tell us if you go and get like a Colin Oliver as opposed to someone like a stack backer like Stutzman, it means Hafley's going to run even more scrapes this year and maybe have Edgerrin Cooper laying back a little bit, that type of thing. So, all right, that's it, guys. We're going to get out of here. Appreciate everybody hanging out with us this morning. Jacob, it was good to have you in here, bud.
Of course. Is there no show tonight?
No show tonight. I got my nephew graduates high school tonight, and we got a dinner set up. Not graduate high school. He's got prom. I had that mixed up. We got graduation coming up. So prom, we're going to go down to the whole festivities. They're going to take pictures of them. I'm going to try to embarrass them. And then we're all adults are going to go out to dinner afterwards. Just a reason for all of us to get together. My mother-in-law, open heart surgery, everything went good. She's a month into the rehabilitation process. So we're getting to the point where we can get her out a little bit and we're going to go grab dinner. So no show tonight. We'll be back tomorrow. Most likely just an evening show tomorrow. I'll let you know if there ends up being a morning show. But yeah, we'll see y'all tomorrow night. Again, thanks to everybody with the donos today. King Tron just lighting it up with multiple super chats. Really appreciate you. CJN with the generous super chat here as well. And then of course, Tron gifting 5 total access memberships here. Keep in mind, those will get put on the Pinky Will tomorrow too for the Catano Ladapo card that we're going to give away. So whichever you feel more comfortable with, you just get more bang for your buck in the Patreon group. That's definitely the best way to support what we do here. Everybody have a great night. Jacob, appreciate your time. We will see y'all tomorrow at least 7 p.m. Central, if not earlier for the morning show. Y'all have a wonderful week.
And we go. We're out. Bye, guys.